Guys, my big green buddy over here and I would like to thank you for showing up to this class of the Comic Book University. We've broken this particular subject down into 9 different parts, and here's one of them right now. Eventually he went mindless again because people always wanted to go back to mindless, and the Hulk comics just started falling apart because even though everybody says that's the thing when you listen to fans. Fans think they know what they want. What they actually want is innovation. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we don't always know exactly what we want. We complain about what we get. It is what it is. It's just the way that things are. But eventually, Greg Pak comes along, and some people say that it was actually Joe Quesada's idea, maybe to some small degree, but maybe, I don't know. I wasn't actually there in the creative meetings. But what I do know is that I read this article with Greg Pak, Greg Pak, and he says that he sat down and he tried to imagine a world that's completely different, because he says, I don't know if I can write for the Hulk because it's not the best, character. Like, it's all the good Hulk stories have pretty much already been told. That's what everybody said. That's what he kind of believed. And he just says, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to go big, because it's the Hulk. You got to go big or go home, right? So he is the originator of the Planet Hulk storyline. And I know I got some fans out there right now who are like, yeah! And of course, there's still some other people out there like, wait, what? Planet Hulk? There's a planet for the Hulk? I'm not going to go into great detail with it. This is often considered the #1 greatest Hulk story that could or should ever be told. And I know that it is in graphic novel form, and you should absolutely, if you have not read this, or if you read it and you don't own it, whatever, you should absolutely go out and get your hands on this story. It is so worth it. Hulk gets betrayed. This is right after the Civil War, the Marvel Civil War, not the American Civil War. Oh, is right after the Marvel Civil War, right? Captain America hadn't actually been killed at this point. Sorry, let me adjust. Oh, I'm wearing a Rocket Raccoon t-shirt because Rocket Raccoon was actually introduced into a Hulk comic book. Bet you didn't know that. Some people say it was in a Marvel preview, number 7, but that's not true. There was a a raccoon that was brought in, and his name was Rocky, and he was from the future, and he had a lot of things on it, but he was from 10,000 years in the future. And yes, it was an alternate story. And then not too long later on, they actually introduced the actual Rocket Raccoon into the Hulk comics and antics, and eventually joined Guardians of the Galaxy and got a cool tree pet named Groot, who was not eaten by termites this time. So anyway, Planet Hulk. Iron Man was such a bad guy. He's always been, and that's the thing. A lot of people say that, oh, he was uncharacteristically made into a jerk. Sorry, I'm going to do an Iron Man video one of these days when I have the cojones, I guess, to do it, because, it's going to be so daunting. But Iron Man has kind of always been a bad guy. He's a hero, but he's a very, very flawed hero. And oftentimes he's not very heroic, and he goes against the government or other heroes or anyone who stands in the way of his ideals, because at the end of the day, he's also one of the smartest 8 people in the Marvel Universe, but he thinks that he's always the smartest, hands down, and he thinks that if you don't agree with him, then it's just proof of how dumb you really are, and he's got to do it his way no matter what, because he's right and you're wrong. And how does he determine that? this is what I think, and if you don't think this, you're clearly wrong because I'm right. So that's Iron Man for you. And, oof, yeah. Wow, to try and stay on topic. I should write this stuff down. But then it won't be from the heart and it won't be as expansive, right? So, anyway, um, Iron Man formed the. He formed the initiative, the 50 State Initiative. He also formed the Illuminati. That's the other I word I was looking for. He formed the Illuminati, okay, with Doctor Strange and with Namor the Submariner and with Professor X and with Black Bolt from the Inhumans, right? Uh, he formed the Illuminati, okay, where he basically said, listen, there are going to be some things that happen in the future that we don't, that we should keep each other in contact with. Like, we don't talk to each other as much as we should. And we are heroes who are in charge of groups that are very powerful, all right? And just blah, 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 right? So, reasons we should form a secret group and pinky swear, basically. They didn't actually pinky swear, might as well have, though, that we will not inform our respective groups of what we're doing. Because sometimes we just gotta be in the shadows. And some of them agree, some of them don't agree, but they all do eventually agree on okay. And the very first thing that Iron Man wants to do, Tony Stark, he decides that they've got to get rid of the Hulk. And the Hulk was just in Las Vegas, and pretty cool story. As usual, not his fault, but whenever the Hulk's involved in something, he goes a little bit overboard and trashes everything, and he just trashed Las Vegas. So they said, okay, man, we need to stop him. So they find out, they intercept that Nick Fury just asked the Hulk to go off planet and try and help out. There's this satellite called God's Eye, and there's problems up there, and only the Hulk can figure it out and stop it, because he can hold his breath for a long time and beat up whatever's there and survive the vacuum and other rigors of space. So he goes up there, he does all this stuff, and he gets back in his ship that was provided to come back down, but it's been overridden by Stark and the rest of the Illuminati. Charles Xavier was not there, and that's actually pretty important for later on. When you actually read the World War Hulk, which follows Planet Hulk. Charles Xavier was, I can't remember exactly, I think he was probably off planet, and that's a really easy thing because X-Men, they're almost always fighting some kind of alien threat. They're never on Earth. They're always off someplace else, And Namor wasn't there because he knew about this and he objected. Namor's always doing the wrong thing. In this case, he was right, though. He objected. He says, this is wrong. We can't just get rid of the Hulk, What they decided to do was to hijack his ship electronically and pre-program it so that it flies off and doesn't return back home. They did Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Did I say Reed Richards was in it? Well, he was. Anyway, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, oftentimes considered the smartest man on Earth, though Dr. Doom would disagree, saw this planet in a telescope, whatever, that, hey, it's uninhabited by sentient life, right? There's just cute little furry animals, and there's no violence, and it's all peace, and it's green, and it's beautiful, and the Hulk will be happy there. And to quote a line that I love, you always said you just wanted to be left alone, right? And it was actually Reed who gave that lecture. There was a movie, an animated movie called Planet Hulk, and it was Stark who gave that because issues with the Fantastic Four and ownership. essentially, obviously, things went wrong and he didn't get sent to that planet. Instead, a wormhole just kind of and sucked him in, and he goes off. And I'm not going to do the entire Planet Hulk thing here now like this, but antics ensued. I love saying that. And he wound up becoming a gladiator to fight for his life, and eventually took up the plight of other people on the planet and fought against this being called the Red King. And the Hulk wound up becoming this prophesized hero who was going to save the planet. And he was very reluctant doing it, but he eventually did. And he found peace. And then that ship blew up that he was on and killed his new wife. Yes, the Hulk was knocking boots, baby. Killed his wife and her pregnant child. And yeah, they didn't actually die there, but they might as well have. And they came back. Hulk decided to come back. That was the end of Planet Hulk. And then it went right into World War Hulk. Guys, thanks for stopping by. This is Professor Bill, the absolute best teacher you'll ever have, at the Comic Book University, the definitively greatest school you are ever going to attend. And you too can attend the Comic Book University simply by hitting subscribe below. Take part in the conversations by discussing below, and send a like my way. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. Class dismissed.